Today on Managing Creative Studios, I'm joined by Islay Wharton, founder of Forme, a Christchurch-based design studio known for pairing beautiful brand work with measurable impact. Islay shares how her creative upbringing, early leap into business and focus on strategy-first design shaped her studio. And we explore her approach to branding, client relationships, and the reality of building a design-led business from the ground up. Welcome to the podcast, Islay Wharton.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, you've flown up from Christchurch today. How was your flight?
It was early. I woke up at 4:30.
Oh, wow. Good effort. Nice.
Yeah, but I'm here.
You're here in Auckland with us.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you could make it. So why don't you start by telling us what drew you to design, to the design industry in the first place? Way back when.
Okay. Well, my dad is an artist, so he paints with oils. He does like New Zealand wilderness landscapes.
Oh, wow.
And my mum's quite creative too. She has like watercolor paints and is a really good drawer. So my whole life people said, "Are you an artist too? Can you paint like your dad?" And so that was kind of somewhat intimidating, but also I just grew up in that creative space and that was really nurtured in my life. And so when I was wanting to study at university, I thought I was going to do architecture for a really long time. And then I heard about industrial design. And then that's actually what I started to commit to at university. And just naturally found graphic design.
Right.
And this is really long-winded, but I initially thought that graphic design was just like magazine layouts. And I wanted something that felt more purposeful and meaningful. And just naturally started a business and then figured out the purpose of the design afterwards.
Wow,
Yeah.
Because that's interesting, because you weren't born in Christchurch, were you? And then you went to university in Wellington, and then you ended up creating your business in Christchurch.
Yes.
So what and why? How did that happen?
So I was born and grew up in Otago in Southland, and I was ready to leave, go to somewhere bigger for a while. And so, I went to study at Massey in Wellington. A couple of my friends from high school went there too. And that's where I met my now husband. And he got a great job opportunity in Christchurch.
Right.
And in that meantime, my whole family had moved to Christchurch. My parents did. Independently, my brother and his family did. And so it all just like very naturally, not intentionally at all as well. We just ended up back there. I said I would never move back to the South Island. I'm a North Island girly. Full Wellingtonian. But it just, the opportunity came and I just embraced it at the time. And ever since have just fallen in love with Christchurch, especially as the city's developed. I love the business space of Christchurch and feeding into that. Yeah.
And then, so what sort of drew you to creating your own business rather than just getting a job for someone else, which is, arguably a lot easier?
Oh, 100%. So many factors. And actually I had this really random, not awakening, revelation yesterday. When I was picking what papers to study at university, I remember my dad said to me, and now in hindsight I have no idea where he got this from. I really don't know. But he said, if you're going to study graphic design or industrial design, whatever it was going to be, design, he said maybe think about doing like a minor in business or in entrepreneurship or something, because you might end up owning your own business if you're going into that kind of creative space. I don't really know where that comes from, even to this day, but that was quite a seed, planted in my mind, I think, because in my first year of university, I can remember the moment that I had this idea to just start a business. I had this like really strong desire to build something of my own, something that I could channel all of my energy and love into and build myself. I don't know why, but I just had this really strong need to. And then I thought, well, I can easily, do graphic design. It was just an easy way to make money on the side. And and it just was just this idea that just dropped into my lap as an idea. And so I just did it. The other side of the coin is that, in my short years of working for other people, I had some like quite horrible experiences time after time working for other people. Just taken advantage of as a young employee willing to go above and beyond, a lot in hospitality,
Right.
which is really unfortunate. But it very rapidly, I was 19 and I was like, I don't want to work for somebody else ever again.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
Decision made early.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was there a moment where it sort of felt like it was becoming more than just you doing some freelance work and pulling in a few jobs here and there? And, you know, was there a realization like this is actually a business, this is bigger than just me being a, you know, being a graphic designer? Was there a moment like that, or did it always feel like a business right from the get-go?
So that's really interesting because I never once called myself a freelancer.
Interesting.
Other people called me a freelancer on my behalf, but I never did. I always said I have a business. And I think it's because I had this really green naivety, you know, that all the stars would align and everything would work out for me. Because I think I really quickly, once I decided to, you know, go down this track, I'm a very all in or not in at all person. So once I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to make this the coolest thing ever. I'm going to go after it with everything I have. And so I think that was always the direction, was to create something cool and make it a cool business and lean in. Yeah,
that's interesting because I there's another episode that I did with a guy called Fraser Munro, who's a freelancer, and he talks extensively about how you should always think of yourself as a business, even if you're a business of one. Another friend of mine watched that episode and she was like, that's why I didn't do well as a freelancer, because I didn't treat myself as a business. And
I see that. I think there's a lot of validity in that mindset. It's something that I've heard taught as well in this space, especially in the creative space. I think the minute you start making decisions around your future vision, it's okay if you want to be a freelancer your whole life. I know plenty of designers who that's all they want. They really don't want to go any further. And that's fantastic. But I think the moment that you, with anything, are making decisions as if you're further down the track than you actually are, I think that's what gets you further down the track sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what were your steps in starting this business? What was your process?
I Googled, like, I came across Googled a lot, came across the, like, New Zealand business, the government business website.
Yeah.
And honestly, I rate that. And I have sent that link to many people since. It gives a wonderful step-by-step on, like, registering as a company or a sole trader, and all the legal stuff. It's actually really easy to start a business in New Zealand. And so all of that kind of stuff was easy. And then I just set up a website and social media. Yeah. And then was just like, this is what I'm doing.
Nice.
Pushed it out to the right. It was ugly and messy, and I would never wouldn't even look at it to this day. But that was... Yeah, it's honestly relatively simple. Yeah. Especially in design, because you don't need to have certain overheads or infrastructure or assets. You can kind of just, if you get into Adobe subscription, you're kind of, you're there.
Yeah. It's interesting that you insult your first website and things like that. But I think it's really important that people just do it, you know? Like, you always look back and cringe at, like, your first anything. But as long as you just do it and move forward.
100%. Yeah. As I don't want to say recovering perfectionist. I'll always be a perfectionist. But as a perfectionist, a great learning in my life, especially with business, especially with design, has been where to release the reins a little bit and where to lean in on perfectionism. And there's a lot more releasing the reins than leaning in, I think. And totally, there was many years of me wanting to be further along than I was, wanting to have the skills that I didn't yet have, you know, wanted to be that good of a designer, but I haven't got there yet, lots of things. And so it really is a lot of grace for yourself and leaning into, I'm learning, I'm starting out. Yeah, I'm in comparison is the thief of all joy, you know, especially on social media, looking at other businesses. Yeah. Everyone's always so great. It's in business, especially, speaking of the wins and the financial milestones and everything. Yeah. Which can be really demoralizing if you're starting out or you're not where you want to be. But yeah, that's a whole learning curve in itself. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have a lot of support starting the business?
Yeah.
Or was it just you on your own?
Kind of. I have a wonderful husband who is the most supportive human being ever. And he also just financially we could make it work because he had a really great job, has a really great job. So it was less risky for me to take the risk because I had that support. And I'm very aware that that's not the case for a lot of people starting out a business. Yeah. I've got lots of friends who had to work full time whilst starting a business and then slowly, you know, changing the time allocated to each of those things over time till the business had enough legs, you know. Yeah. But yeah, in that way, yes, like plenty of support to just take the risk and lean in. I'd also be less risky now. When I was younger, it was very easy to be just like, this is going to be great. It's going to work out for me.
Yeah. Well, I think that naivety is something that I've talked about with many sort of founders. I think because having recently been made redundant a couple of months ago, you kind of, I'm 38 and you look at your life and you're like, why didn't I start a business in my 20s when it would have been easier and when I, you know, didn't like, I don't know, have mortgage and all these responsibilities and stuff. Yeah. Because it'd be much harder now because, you know, in the first 5 years of business, a lot of businesses fail, a lot of businesses don't make money or just only break even. And when you've got a mortgage to pay at my age and that sort of thing, it'd have been so much easier in your 20s when you've got nothing to lose.
I am grateful for that. I really am. I really am. But yeah, on the support side though, I will say it's taken, I think there's been like instrumental parts of my life that have felt more like it how do I explain? I look back and realize how much I was lacking or needing support. But like in hindsight, and I don't think I realized it in the moment, but now that I have much more support, like I've got amazing friends who have amazing inspiring businesses and we get together regularly intentionally because we recognize how hard it is to, especially like sharing wins with people, even like with like my own family. If you've not run a business or you're not kind of in that space, it can be really hard to appreciate what some kind of milestone actually means for somebody in business. And so it's been really cool to have amazing friends in business, and I have an amazing business coach who is so encouraging, and it's made me realize how much I needed that encouragement for years before I had that, things like that. So yeah, I'm in a really great place now, but I think I was pretty unsupported and going in blind by pure determination for a long time.
And so your business coach, where did you find him?
So he used to work for Rocket Spark, who are a website builder based in Cambridge, Hamilton. They used to, or they still do, they run graphic designer events around the country to support graphic designers. And so I met him at one of those. Oh, cool. And then just had coffee with him, and he was offering coaching and has just carried that on as he's gone through different jobs and stuff. And yeah, it's been awesome. Oh, wow. I feel like I've gleaned so much wisdom and insight from him, and I feel really lucky for that because I think a lot of designers don't have that. Yeah.
And then I also wondered, and there's an article about you and your husband.
Oh gosh,
the press. Now, is this a Christchurch paper?
It's like actually in a lot of the national papers.
Right, it's very informative. It's like a little nugget of gold there. So it's all about you and your husband. You've got this beautiful little meet cute, and there was one thing in there that really interested me, that he mentioned that you've got a sort of a business meetup group in Christchurch amongst your friends or something.
Yeah, so we have a lot of friends in business, and especially in the past year or two, a lot of friends have started businesses, and so we meet together every fortnight usually. And just chat business. Oh, cool. And that's really cool. Best, most encouraging thing. Like, there's plenty of networking events you can go to, all sorts of things like that are really great and really valuable, but we just started our own with our own little community of people, and it has truly it's amazing. And we have a wins box where every fortnight we just write down something that's gone well. And it's honestly full. It's like there's no space anymore, and we talk about it all the time, just that like it's so ever since we've been getting together and supporting one another, and there's been times when we've been really intentional about like more practical support, not just talking about stuff, like going to somebody's shop or, you know, going to an event to support somebody. It's really kind of unleashed a lot of encouragement. And I would say, especially with some of the people in the group, and I've experienced this myself, encouragement is so underrated sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think there certainly needs to be more of it. And Christchurch is a small place, so you want to get to know other businesses and network. And
Yeah. Honestly, it is starting to get to the point now where, like, I was seeing the same people at different events. I'm a big part of Business Canterbury, which is the Chamber of Commerce, and like LinkedIn events and there's all sorts of things, but starting to know who's who.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Lovely. What a nice story. All right, we'll talk about the Forme website. So your company Forme. On the website, you say the company is born out of love for meaningful design and a heart to serve others. So, do you want to expand on that? Like, what does meaningful design look like to you?
Nice. Design is beautiful, you know, good design is beautiful. And I think beauty provides its own value, but what's really important to me is actual impact, and I use the word tangible a lot in the marketing for Forme. Impact that is meaningful in the way that it grows business, it creates some kind of change, it draws people towards a positive, like I said, good design adds value as is, but
another thing on your website is beauty that doesn't achieve outcomes is wasted time.
Ooh,
so
that is me being a bit sassy, but
so you're kind of balancing the aesthetics with the practical outcomes.
So the whole positioning of Forme is that it's beautiful design that can be measured by quantifiable results in the way that it brings positive growth, impact, change to the space that it's in. And so for us, you know, we have small to medium-sized businesses as most of our clients at the moment, in all sorts of industries, huge range of industries. But the real, like, design is cool, but unless it's actually bringing return on investment or actually growing the business or having some kind of quantifiable substance, then it's just spent money and time.
Your values on your website I really liked as well. Ride or die. Every day is a school day. And sweat the small stuff. So how do those show up in the day-to-day running of your studio?
So I literally carve out time every week on professional development. And this is something I will start to implement with my team. And that looks different depending on, there might be like specific projects that we need specific kind of areas to upskill in, or just like refine skills and insights, but there's dedicated time to that, because if you're not learning and growing, I really believe you'll stagnate. And especially in this industry, in marketing in general, things move so quickly because culture is moving so quickly, and so businesses have to adapt and change. And so it's really important to me that we're keeping up and like front-footing future change and growth. So that's the every day is a school day. The sweat the small stuff is, maybe it taps in a little bit into perfectionism, but it's details matter in design. I mean, we have a client that just last week I said, give me 3 hours of budget, and this is a friend of mine as well, but I said, give me 3 hours of budget and I will just spend 3 hours tweaking your website, because there's so many little things that will just a little tweak will help elevate just this level of professionalism and sophistication, but also trust signals and how reliable you look as a business. And it's all like it's hard to believe until you see it, you know, A versus B, but one looks way more reliable. You're more comfortable giving your personal details to, for example. And that all comes from, you know, the fact that we as humans receive so much information into our subconscious, and we're not necessarily aware of all the information our brains are receiving, but that helps us that's where our gut instinct comes from, or you're feeling, oh, I don't know if I trust this person or this website or this business, something feels off, whatever it is, and you might not be consciously aware of it, but there's a huge volume of that happens for us, and that's why details matter, because they're what informs this kind of gut instinct or reliability or whatever it is for somebody to actually contact you or purchase from you or whatever it is.
Yeah. When you're choosing your clients or projects, what makes it a project that you're really excited about taking on? Or do you sort of just say yes to everything at this stage? Or
Definitely don't say yes to everything. And there has been some, there's some really obvious no's.
Yeah.
There's some industries I don't want to work with. Not many, but a small handful, just from like a moral standpoint. And probably the biggest thing is I've had a couple of meetings with people where I'm like, I can tell this is not going to be a happy process for us and potentially for them too. Whether it's just like the way that they speak, the way they come across. That sounds a little bit judgmental, but it's not. It's very much an informed kind of, I can tell this person's going to be hard and this is not going to gel. We're not the right people for you. But in general, the joy in this business is the huge variety of industries and people to work with, which is so exciting and makes the work really, really fun. The best work, and what we've been really lucky to have a lot of clients in this space, is people who are willing to take a bit of a risk. And that's quite vague, but it's really about business owners and business decision makers who are comfortable to kind of push the boat out with their marketing, with their brand, perhaps beyond what their industry deems normal. It's all calculated risk, it's all thoroughly researched, but I think what can stump a lot of graphic design work is clients who are looking to other businesses in their industry or the person down the road and just wanting what they have because it works for them, which is valid and makes a lot of sense. But the most interesting work and the most successful design work is when you can be more innovative, not expected perhaps, and that's a lot to do with the client relationship and how much they can trust you to, sometimes it's a bit of hand-holding, the risk is worth it. Trust us, it's gonna pay off. That's ambiguous, but it really is what makes the most interesting work.
So where do you find that most of your clients come from? Are you getting them from word of mouth, AdWords, social media?
Easily referrals and word of mouth.
Oh, yeah?
Easily. A huge thing that especially I'm seeing at the moment is we'll do a project for somebody in a particular industry, and then everyone else, not everyone else, but, a whole lot of other people in that industry are coming to us, which is really cool. It does create some accidental niches, but it's all fun. It's all good. So that's an element of it, I think, because it's really easy for people to see something working for somebody else who's related, same industry. And so that's a big part of it. In general, just promoting work we've done brings a lot of work in, but it's a lot of networking and who especially in Christchurch. I found that really interesting as I've gotten to know Christchurch better and the business scene better. It is really like New Zealand business is all about who you know, but I find it really, really obvious in Christchurch. People's entire businesses are this I don't mean this to sound negative, but I have come across a lot of businesses where their whole client base is their high school friend's dad's business. There's a lot of that, and so you really have to kind of put your big girl pants on and be willing to get in front of the suits and network. I found that to be the best thing.
So I imagine a lot of your clients are from Christchurch, but I mean, you've flown up here today for some other meetings that you've got. So how much of your business comes from elsewhere in New Zealand or maybe internationally?
I would say less than 10% from outside of New Zealand. I've got a small couple of clients in Australia and in the US. Everyone else, I would say like 60-70% are in Canterbury. But yeah, there's clients around other parts of the country.
Nice.
People that have just come across me on social media, or just honestly randomly Google outside of Christchurch. I find really interesting how they come across me, but
Interesting. So, what sort of structures do you have in place, or systems and processes do you have? Like, what accounting software do you use? Do you have project management systems in place, or is it all manual? Or what's going on there?
I love a process chat.
Good.
I love
so
systems
do
and processes. It really spins my wheels. At the start of the year, I actually did a lot of research because my project management system I had wasn't doing it for me, and I had switched between a few in a short space of time. And so I ended up on a software called Productive. I don't know anybody else who uses it.
Oh, I've never heard of it before.
I love it. I feel like maybe a commission should be coming my way. Like I tell everybody about it. That is project management, resource and team management. Time tracking, like sales pipeline and like lead management.
Does it have like the ability to mark up images or anything like that?
No.
For feedback and things like that?
No, so I don't do that, but most work that we're presenting to clients is presented in person now.
So you'd have pitch decks and stuff.
Yeah. And so we work out of a really nice shared office space in Christchurch. And there's some really luxe meeting rooms that we use and present work on TV and stuff. But yeah, so it's got all the people management side of things, project management, which I love. So that's really pivotal. I use Notion a lot for my own like to-do lists and even things like email templates. And things like that. Or just tracking like contracts with different team members and things like that. What else do I use? That's pretty much the main like systems. I use Xero, but I don't really use Xero. My accountant's probably on there happy with me. I love a good Excel spreadsheet. I got it made for me and then I made it pretty. And so it works. I think I've broken a few formulas, but
that's funny.
I'm trying to think what else I use at the moment. I use Flowdesk for email marketing, which I love. I really love. It's a lot of people in the design and creative space seem to use it, I think, because it's got nice creative abilities.
I see. That's cool. And then what about when projects might not go as well as you'd hoped? Perhaps there's, a bit of scope creep. Perhaps there's maybe a client misalignment. How do you get the project back on track? What's your process?
That's it would have to do with the specifics. These days there isn't a lot of scope creep, and I would put that down to something that I'm really proud of, but I can't take all the credit for, is the processes we have internally for the way that we handle projects. I think it's so streamlined, at least for the stage of business we're in, the type of clients we have, it works so well. And so one portion of that is a lot of our projects we are doing brand strategy, brand identity design, a whole bunch like collateral, maybe like signage design and things like that, and then website design development. That's quite a common project for Forme. And one of the things we do is in those initial meetings, like when we're just quoting for something, I'll get an idea of what deliverables in terms of where the brand is going to exist short and long term. Like, what do you want us to design now? Okay, we need to replace the XYZ signage, business cards, you've got these print collateral, whatever it is. But when we go through the brand strategy and then the brand identity design, we re-scope from there on. And it's always just a checking, because I don't know why, but things often change in that space of time. And clients will either say, oh, that part can wait for further down the track, or, oh, yeah, I've actually realised our brand exists here that we hadn't quoted for. And so on the scope creep front, that's quite nice for brands. Anything like extra revisions is always charged for, but what I'm finding more and more, especially in the past year or two, is that we're doing less revisions than we quoted for. So usually for like a brand identity, for example, the just base is 2 rounds of revisions. And that seems to work really nicely, except I've had so many clients recently just be like, yep, love it,
Oh, nice.
which is...
That's what you want.
I feel like quite cocky saying that because it's such a flex, you know,
Yeah.
but it's true. And I think it's a testament to the brand strategy process and just also the way we partner with clients as a real collaboration through it, that there's that understanding.
Also a bit of how you're presenting, you know, as well, convincing them that it's the right way to go.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a part of that. It's presenting work in person, you know, and we can't always do it with clients who are, you know, outside of Canterbury, but that goes a long way for getting buy-in, because there is, not entirely, but there is an aspect of it that is you're selling a concept, you're selling a vision, and sometimes that can be quite daunting to a business leadership, because that's, any change is risky, you know. So having people in person where you can read their face and you can have open conversation and you can discuss something more robustly, compared to just emailing off work. Big difference.
I find that how many people do you have on your staff, or contractors do you work with, for starters?
Yeah, so it depends on the project. I have a marketing specialist and a graphic designer and a photographer who are super regular, maybe slightly less the photographer, but the marketing and graphic designer, core part of the team. Depending on the project, we frequently engage copywriters, other like printers. It can be really random, like all sorts of suppliers for different things, but usually it's the graphic design and copywriting and photography and marketing is the core of it.
So I find that people often feel like staff really are motivated by those external rewards, whereas in reality a lot of people are more motivated by those sort of intrinsic values, so, you know, personal development and, you know, feeling valued and that sort of thing. So what motivates you, and how do you sort of motivate your staff? I mean, it's going to be different for both, like everyone, because some people are motivated by working for a cool brand or, you know, salary. But what sort of motivates you and your team?
Oh, that's so good. I mean, the real team dynamic is quite new for Forme, and so that's ask me again in a year or two, we'll see. But for now, it has been quite interesting, especially interviewing people for different roles, has been really interesting to see what people are wanting when they're moving from another place. And particularly, I think the variety of projects we work on, and we have clients who are preschools, healthcare, skincare brands, you know, like that's there's just quite a lot of variety. We've got people in food manufacturing. Like it's really fun because we've got all these different vibes going on, and so that keeps things really interesting. I think that's what keeps me motivated as well. I mean, I'm motivated by many things in the business, but that's probably one of the big things. I get quite bored if we're doing, you know, the same sort of work all the time, and I'd really push for, you know, finding new and interesting things. And also, like I said before, being able to work outside of the boundaries of what, I mean, I say this and, you know, maybe you can see our work online, it's up to your own judgment, but the way that Forme is going is definitely getting work that pushes boundaries of certain industries and expectations, which is where I want to index into more. But yeah, for the team, I mean, so far it's very much like I have very free-flowing, real conversations, and that allows me to kind of see where people are at and how happy they are and what's driving them. I think, honestly, working from a really beautiful office that we have and having lovely clients, like consistently the loveliest people to work with, that I'm like,
Is that a Christchurch thing?
I don't know. I
Where are
don't
those lovely
know.
clients?
Because like, are we just lucky? Is my luck going to run out? I don't know. I don't know if it's like what we attract in part, but I can't also put it all down to that. I don't know. Yeah. But just the track record of the past, especially the past few years, I'm like, I love these people. Like, I just can't wait to see their businesses just flourish from the work we do together. Yeah. And so it makes it such a pleasure to work with them, and it makes the work so easy. And so there isn't a lot of frustrations, or like any frustrations with like communication with clients or anything like that can often get the designers and design work really bogged down with. Yeah.
So I know that a lot of work goes into designing something like a logo. So how do you convince clients to use a person to design rather than AI?
Oh, yeah. We had to go there.
Yeah.
Well, I think if a client's considering AI, they're already not talking to us. So that's already, not a part of the conversation. But this is why I promote brand strategy so much, and the data and research and insights that design is founded upon, rather than just designing something that looks pretty. Because if you and I were to sit here and design a logo and we're like, yeah, that looks great, I reckon this will attract your target market, I reckon this looks different from other people in the industry, you love it, I love it, amazing. Like, that's cool and that's fine and that might get you so far, but how do you know that any of those design decisions are actually going to be successful in the market? And then what happens if you're spending a lot of money on that process? Then that's such a risk, right?
Yeah.
And so this is why I really promote the positioning of Forme around all of the research and insights and data we gather that inform the brand strategy process. And another big part of that process is info gathering from the client. And so we have a really robust workshop where we sit down and discuss ins and outs of the business, where you've been, what your visions are, where you're going as a business, and everything. Just pick your brains.
Yeah.
And that all also informs the brand strategy.
Yeah.
And so that when we make design decisions, it's all backed up on insights that we can rely upon.
A lot of critical thinking that goes into
exactly,
the back end of the brand.
100%. And so, yeah, you totally can get AI to design a logo, but at this stage, who knows what that logo is going to do in actually in the market practically.
Yeah. And also, who knows if that looks like anyone else's? Like, there's no research gone into whether you're just stealing somebody's idea.
AI
it looks really similar to someone else's. AI doesn't know.
AI is using information that already exists, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't think up new things. And like we all know, graphic design is just borrowing ideas here and meshing them together, and it's creating something unique in that way. But when you've got a human brain making that decision, you know where that line sits of like plagiarism or differentiation or whatever it needs to be. Yeah.
I think a part of the problem is that a lot of people don't understand what a brand is. They think a brand is a logo and a font and a colour. But it's more than that.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yeah.
So what's your definition of brand?
Oh. So the definition that and this is from many other people, not my own brain, is the feeling that people have when they interact with the business.
Yeah.
And so the most important feeling of that is your target market's feeling. Yeah. So it's their assumptions about a business, their perceptions, the feeling they have internally, whether that's conscious or subconscious, which is also worthwhile pointing out. And so that is made up of every business decision making is a part of the brand. And I know some people don't like to hear that. And I had a conversation with somebody recently who was adamant that brand is external focused only. It's only for people outside of the business. But have you heard of the phrase culture eats strategy for breakfast?
Yeah.
So you could have the best brand strategy. You could have the most amazing brand identity that really looks beautiful and has all this research put into it. But if your internal culture, like your team, your staff, the way they speak to each other, the way they speak to clients, or, any myriad of nuances within that. That's what dictates brand more than a strategy ever could.
Yeah, because brand is kind of your reputation almost, right? If your staff don't,
I'm nodding so vigorously. Yeah, totally. And so, that's why it's important to consider interior design when it comes to brand, because you could make an awesome brand identity, but when customers come into a space and that's misaligned, then your brand is, not what you're intending it to be. So there's so many things. And so we're at a point now where our brand strategies are so thorough and they flex depending on the client, but they can be pretty intense. But it's for the idea that this is supposed to direct decision making in your business from a brand point of view, and it's supposed to sit alongside like your business plan documentation.
Yeah. And then what if somebody's thinking about, a company's thinking about getting a brand refresh or a rebrand, entire rebrand, what should they be looking for in an agency?
That's really, really interesting. I think there's so many things. I think social proof, to be honest. People's not just experiences throughout the process, because that's nice. We had a great time working with so-and-so. That's cool. But we launched this rebrand and our sales 10x'd within 2 years. Like if you can find some quantifiable results, and it's especially good because a lot of agencies will index or niche into certain areas of expertise. And I think that can happen quite naturally or just intentionally. But if there's an agency who, you're a tech business and this agency just get like all these quantifiable results working with tech companies, then I think that's a pretty good place to start. There's a whole other thing of, if they're a good agency, they'll make sure that it's all differentiated, unique to those businesses. But I would say beyond all that, if you can get a meeting and sit down with the people you'll be working with within the agency, and you feel like they understand you and your business and your vision, I think that is probably the biggest thing, because you need them to get you and you need them to have the buy-in. Because if they're just going to treat you like another project, or if they're just like, you're a dentist, we got you, that's not good enough for, any kind of differentiation or understanding that every business is so unique and has their own space and way to go. And so, if you feel like these people get me and they get this business and they understand, that's it, that'll do it.
That's good. It's on.
Oh no, I'm nervous now.
I like this question because it's really relevant to some things in my background. Anyways, so I find that in my experience, you can design, you can give a client everything. You can design the brand, you can create this beautiful toolkit, give them all the fonts, the colors, give them templates to use, and then you hand it over, and you might see their work later on and be like, that's not quite on brand. Things can move. Even if they're using templates, the font sizes can change. Sometimes the fonts themselves can change. The colours can change because they might not.
You wouldn't believe.
How do you go about making sure that you're handing over the brand to the client so that they, in a way that they're safe from butchering it?
Yeah, well, okay. So you're never safe from butchering. Yeah, no. So in an ideal world, you would work with them long term. A rebrand shouldn't be just a set project, hand it off and you're good to go. Because, again, every business is so different and their needs in this space, especially for ongoing support, are so different. It depends on what kind of staffing they have and all that. But ideally, there is some longer term sort of partnership, whether they're checking in with you on things or decision making. Or just, it all depends on the capacity of what that looks like. And especially like web into the digital space is such a huge part of a lot of businesses. If, you know, you're continuing to work with them in that space, which is the most common, then there's less butchering going on. But plenty of clients aren't, you know, doing that, and plenty of clients are. It is just, you know, practically for their needs and where they're at in business and everything, it is more of just a handover. You can't save it's just not realistic. And so I've seen plenty of designers complain and say you need to, you know, up level your brand guidelines, or you need to do XYZ in order to ensure that the brand is handed off in the perfect way. And there's even like beyond like sending a PDF of brand guidelines, there's all sorts of websites and platforms where you can have like a digital guidelines basically. And those are awesome if there's, you know, budget and need for that, especially if you've got a big team. That's awesome. But it's I kind of get a little bit frustrated when I see designers being like, you can't do that and you have to do it this way, because inevitably a business needs to have internal people doing stuff with the brand. That's 99% of the time that's what's happening. And so it's better to design a brand where you're allowing for some level of creative ownership. Some level, it depends. And if you can partner with them, coach team members on how to use things, that's even better. Yeah, It all depends. And there has been cases where, you know, I've got work that I'm promoting as a business, but I'll go to the website and be like, oh, no. Really?
Yeah,
and so I don't know. I think you have to navigate whether it's appropriate for you as the agency to go and say, hey, can we, you know, because it's at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of agencies holding like people's websites hostage, for example, and saying you have to use us to edit it. I like the much more realistic point of view. In my mind, what most of our clients end up wanting is to having some level of ownership. We've got a few clients who completely like, you touch it, not us. But a lot of clients want some autonomy so that it's their website, it's their property. And so, if you have a good relationship with them and can partner with them in that.
Do you hand over your working files?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I know not everybody does.
Yeah. I was having this debate recently because, I specifically asked in my new job agency for the working files, and I wasn't sure how they were going to feel about that. They were very good about it, but it's very interesting.
I would be interested to chat to some other people around the logic behind it, because I've seen both sides.
Yeah, so for us, in this specific case, it's kind of like, my internal clients, because we're a big organisation, we have internal clients, different departments, and they come to me and they're like, oh, can you just take the crop marks off this file? You know, like, because we want to use it as a digital file instead of a print file. And I'm like, I could if I had the working file, but the agency did that. So, you know, it's just so much easier, because you don't want to go back to an agency and have them charge you for that sort of thing.
Oh, totally. I've come across so many brands, because we get a small portion, a reasonable portion of clients who are just website clients. And so we're receiving a brand from somebody else. The amount of times I've had to recreate logos because the clients just don't have access to a working file. It's ridiculous. Or they've got working files that aren't usable. I think, like, especially if you're not wanting the brand you designed to be, you know, butchered, then I think it's almost safer to hand over the working files, because then at least it is, I don't know, it is more open to more edits, but also at the same time, if they need to make changes and they've only got a JPEG. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Then what do you do?
I think people think the opposite. Designers think, oh, if I hand over my working files, they are going to butcher it.
Yeah.
But in
also
reality,
if they need to make
it's
a
the
change,
opposite, because they're going to make that change whether you allow them to or not. So you better give them the right tools.
The whole concept to me is that you're doing work for a business, and when I don't know, everybody's T's and C's will be different, but what we have and what I believe is the standard is that when they have finished paying in full and they've signed all the T's and C's and everything, that brand is theirs. It's their IP now. It's not Forme's IP.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but it's ours to market as we want. But it's their logo, it's their website.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to relinquish some control as a designer and come from the place of let's partner with the business rather than do a set project and hand it off and pray they don't make a mess of it, because it will be made a mess of eventually by somebody.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's my hot take. I'm really interested in what other people think, though.
So interesting. One other part that I find really interesting about branding is the naming of things, because there's a lot of context that needs to go into that, because a name for one group of people at one time in one place might be very different to the name for another group of people at another time, another place. So how do you help organisations land on the right name for their brand? Yeah, nice. It always comes after the strategy phase. So you're never going in blind on vibes. Well, hopefully not. So you'll have all this time researching and talking to people and defining target audiences and things like that. And so that all informs the naming process. Once you've done that, I find naming is so odd. And again, I'd be really interested in what people who've done a lot of naming would say, but I find it can be really ambiguous in a really frustrating way, because it's like until a name has associations, it means nothing, or it can sound weird, or it's just, if you're doing some kind of descriptor, it can just be like, you've got some other set of connotations. There's plenty of, like, you look at so many different brand names around. Some of the biggest brand names are completely made up words, but you have that connotation, it makes sense to you, and you immediately think of their product or service. But that's from branding, that's from built up reputation and time. So when you're starting from scratch, it can be really odd. And so, I've done a few naming pieces recently. And it is always a conversation with the clients. It's been like, this seems like the best on paper based on, all this strategy and how we feel about it and everything. But until it has all the connotations, until you start trading with that name, it never really quite lands, I find. Like, you never feel 100% until you've kind of committed, and then now you're trading as that business, and you've got the brand identity, and you're starting to get known as that. And then it starts to be like, this is what we're called. But when you've committed to it, I feel like it's like a 90%, 80% sort of, stake in the ground. And colour theory, how much does that have to play in brand? Oh, that's interesting, because it depends on, it has a lot to play in it, but is it given too much credit? I don't know. Well, oh no, this is potentially controversial. I think, what a colour means to one group of people will mean something completely different to another group. And it really depends on connotations and lived experience. And so you can say, most Kiwis think of red in this way. But red can bring up, like, love and passion as much as it brings up emergency and alert. So, I think it really depends on the context. And some of the most interesting brand work I've seen people do recently is just ridding away with colour theory and being kind of really, not random, but just definitely against the grain intentionally, because you've got all the surrounding brand, imagery, messaging, product, service, culture, whatever it is, brand surrounding it that informs that colour connotation. So it can mean everything and nothing. I don't know. It depends. And then what about, there's a few sources on the internet that say that the average person can be sort of bombarded with up to 10,000 brand messages a day. So how do you create a brand that sort of cuts through the noise? I think where the brand is showing up goes a long way. There's a million things within that. But, like, for instance, you get, like, 10 Instagram ads on stories in a row. You get numb to that kind of medium. And so when you're thinking about your target market, you got to think about what's gonna stand out to them and actually resonate. And so what gets brands a lot of legs is emotional resonance. Because we know that as much as we like to think that our decisions are purely rational,
and especially if you're a B2B business, we love to think that, you know, we chose this company because of XYZ benefits, because of this price point and what they can do for us, blah, blah, blah. But that's just your sense check after the emotional resonance. And so I think it's a 97, 98-ish, I can't quite remember the exact stat, but that percentage of decisions are emotional over rational. And so the rational is our sense check. And so this is why historically, especially B2B brands, are really benefits forward, really kind of stoic and not that fun or cute or playful or interesting or whatever you want to say. Because up until recently, we've thought that it's all, especially for business decisions, it's all rational. But because we now know that that's not the case, emotional resonance, if you can cut through and whatever the emotion you're trying to elicit, whether that's belonging or excitement, whatever it is, that will cut through other advertising noise in whatever medium you're at, whether it's a billboard or a social media ad or a street sign. If there's some level of like emotional connection, which can only be developed if you really know your target market. I've said this target market like a million times today, but if you really know and understand them and how they work and what motivates them and what will entice them to make a purchase decision or whatever it is, then you can play with emotions. Yeah, that's what would cut through louder than, you know, we're the best, we have the best quality product, whatever it is.
And then what sort of, like for me personally, I use printers a lot, and I have one particular printer that I go back to a lot because, not because they're cheap, sorry, but because I trust the account manager, I like the company, I like the account manager, and I trust them to get things done on time. Like I give them a lot of urgent jobs and things. So what in your mind helps to inspire loyalty? Keeping customers, because you don't want to just, I mean, you break through the noise and you get their attention and they might buy something once, but you want them to keep coming back.
Power? Yeah. The way I view it, especially just internally for Forme, is in my head it's a checkbox of a whole lot of things. It's like, are you easy to work with? Do you get on well and have nice conversations when you're working with that person? Like you feel good when you're interacting with the people. I think there's a lot of other things, like the price has to make sense, even if you don't have to be the cheapest by any means. That's how every business who's not the cheapest in their category works. But it's this checkbox of things in my head, you know? Easy to work with, you get it done at a certain amount of time that makes sense, it's a price point that makes sense, it's convenient. It will differ depending on what it is and what the purpose is. With printing, I think being able to rely on somebody to get things done in a short space of time. I have the exact same relationship with my own printers. And so I recommend them to every single client and work with them on so many things because it's easy, and I would rather not have to go through the faff of working with somebody else or figuring out if they're better to work with, you know, like sometimes it's just convenience of this has worked in the past.
Ease and convenience is a big one. I mean, Apple's a good example. Like if it were all about price, Apple would have died a long time ago.
100%. And so part of it is like, I think we also underestimate the identity portion of our purchases, right? Like if it's really easy when you're like, say watches, for example. What does it say about me that I have a movement watch? Maybe I don't want to be wearing it. You know, like I don't know if I have some certain brand affinity. I don't. But if I was wearing a Rolex, that says something else about me. And it's about, now it's about identity, you know? Yeah. And so you can associate identity with so many decisions, especially clothing and property and things that are quite external.
Yeah.
And so I think there's you can't really like ever systemize why people make the decisions they do. And I've actually seen some really interesting research around marketing funnels. Sorry, this is quite tangenty, but people who've done all this research on the marketing funnel and, you know, like awareness, consideration, yada yada, but how large of a proportion people come in and out of that funnel and are not this like clean line of the way they make purchase decisions. So many of us, so many humans just, cannot be predictable with reasons why we do things, because it's just, we're too complex, I think.
Yeah.
And so part of it is convenience and ease, sure. Part of it is also identity. Part of it is affinity for certain reasons, emotional connection, other influences in our lives. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think you can really consolidate that. I think there's just a million reasons, but there's probably some core ones. I think those are some of the core ones.
Yeah, and then when it comes to writing copy, I don't know if that's something that you do personally or whether you outsource that, you have a copywriter or...
Yes.
But how do you feel about people using AI to write their copy?
Yeah.
Rather than using a copywriter, because it happens a lot now.
Yeah, it does. It does. I think it depends on the business and where you're at. I'm not completely against AI at all, but I think the worst is if you're paying somebody to do copywriting and they're using AI. That's not okay in my
I think that's a big fear
perspective.
These days.
And I know plenty of people use like AI checkers to check whether something they've received is done by AI. But I think there's space for it if there's for instance, a new business who just need a website put up. Some AI copy is not a good thing to have long term, but might be, it's kind of like...
enough to get them started.
Yeah, it's sort of in this, I see it in the same vein as like people using AI for a logo. Obviously, I'm like, well, that's not the best for your business. But not every business has thousands and thousands of dollars to invest. And so, especially if you're a startup. And so you've got to start somewhere. And like I said with my own business, it was ugly and not cute to begin with.
The one foot in front of the other, right?
Yeah, you have to start somewhere. And so I think there is a time and a place for it. But we almost exclusively use copywriters for web copy. Occasionally, quite frequently, we're editing or tweaking existing copy, which I often do at the moment. But 90% of the time, it's outsourcing to a professional copywriter, because just as a side note, there's a lot of generalizing and generalists in the world of design, marketing, and the whole sphere. And there's a lot of hiring for people in generalist roles. But we know that the best outcomes for businesses are when you've got people doing what their expertise is. So like I can write pretty good web copy, but that's not my skill set, and that's why we outsource it. I'm better as a designer. Yeah. I can take photos. I have a camera. I could do photography for a client, but we don't, because it's like a better outcome for the client if a photographer who specialises in this kind of photography, and so, like I said, there's not always budget for it. It's a case-by-case basis, but it's always in the best interest to have people in their specialities doing the work, of course. There's a bit of a side tangent, but I think there's time and place for AI, but not as a long-term marketing solution. I think you've got to I think you can lean into what makes your business unique and what you're trying to do better than AI ever will, and people also sniff it out. It's not going to be good for your reputation long-term, I think, at this stage at least. Yeah,
interesting. And then I was watching, there's this good little TEDx talk that's on YouTube at the moment from... Heather Jing, who talks about Glaze and Nightshade, which are applications which are free and available online, made by SandLab at the University of Chicago, and it's something where you can input your design, your artwork, your photography, and it sort of tricks AI into not realizing what it is. So when AI is trying to replicate your work, it spits out something that's totally random and different. So it's
okay.
It's very interesting. Is that the sort of something that you would consider sort of using to protect your IP, or are you feeling like AI is not frightening enough yet to worry about that sort of thing?
I haven't come across anything like that, so I might look into it, because I didn't know it was a thing. But I don't feel very threatened by AI right now.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think the reality is there's a lot of fear mongering without we don't know where it's going. It could just be a real, that was the 2020s, potentially.
Yeah.
But we also don't know. It could completely revolutionize the future, and it will in some way. It will have its own hand. But anyone who says they know where it's going or what's going to happen with the future of AI, I think is completely making it up, because we don't know.
Yeah.
There's too many factors. So I'm not, I think at this stage, in general, my perspective in life is, if I'm not going to make a change, if there's not a need to do something different, then I'm not going to worry about it, because I don't like the whole idea of, and I know that everybody's different. Some people can't help but be worried, but worry without any kind of action is, I think, a problematic place to sit. And so for now, if there's, what you just told me is very new and interesting. I might have a look at it. But if there's nothing that I'm going to do differently right now, then I'm not going to bother being concerned about it. And we already see the positives and negatives of AI right now. And so I think it's really wise to utilize it where it makes sense to, and where it's going to be effective, and not utilize it where it's not going to be that effective, just use it to your advantage. That's my perspective right now, but it's a very fast changing place, and so I'm not anticipating that perspective to change to stay forever either.
And talking about fast moving and changing technology and that sort of thing, what would you say that maybe people or organisations with regard to brand and marketing need to do to sort of keep themselves current and up with the play in general?
With marketing?
Yeah.
That's a really broad question. I'm trying to think through. I think one of the biggest dictators of like what's going to be successful marketing, in my perspective, is culture. What culture's doing. And so I think if you can know your people, if you you're like, okay, we only operate within New Zealand, for example, as a business, then understanding Kiwis and being aware of what cultural trends are happening, what people are saying, what people are talking about, just having your awareness on for your, at least your target market. I think that you can over-engineer marketing, I think, in some ways, but at the end of the day, I think marketing is so intertwined with culture, and what's picked up is based on culture and perspectives and opinions. So there'll always be things like what's happening in the news will affect your marketing in some shape or form, potentially, things like that. And saying that, I'm not someone who watches the news in any capacity. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. That's really broad.
Yeah.
You can always intentionally upskill in every way. We've got information out of fingertips, but
So what sort of projects do you find most difficult?
Oh, there's some projects that are more difficult creatively, and some projects that are more difficult process-wise. The process ones are usually like we've got timelines that are getting changed for whatever reason, or challenging clients, things like that. The creative ones, I think they can be one in two categories. If you've done a lot of the same kind of work, you have to really work hard to not be kind of tunnel vision around what you've done recently, and to be intentionally expanding those creative horizons. And one big part of that is just like your creativity comes from what's input into you. So where you're spending time, what media you're consuming, if you're giving yourself time to spend outdoors and get creatively inspired in that space. It's all about the input, in my opinion. But the other side of it is if you're trying to craft something like a new space, that can also be creatively challenging because you're paving the way a little bit. And so that's when you have to really lean on the brand strategy, so that you're making wise creative decisions. Yeah. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, yeah, it does. And then what about, is there one specific project that you're sort of most proud of?
Okay. There's one that hasn't been publicised yet. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I will share that all over the show when I can. Yeah. Otherwise, we've worked with a few dentists recently, and those have been really fun because they've been amazing people to work with, and it's been really rewarding to... It's also been really easy. In general, I don't want to offend any dentistry businesses, but in general, there's one look and feel of dentists at the moment, and so it's been really easy and fun to be like, okay, away with that. What's going to actually work, and how can we be new and different?
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's a few things. There's also a few things in the pipeline that I'm really excited about.
Yes.
That we can push them forward. That'll be fun.
Nice. And do you think that as a designer, I know, and especially in having, looked for jobs recently after a redundancy, that hiring managers often want you to be everything, especially in the creative industry. They want you to be a social media expert. They want you to be an editor. They want you to be a graphic designer. They want you to be basically everything except a brand strategist, because people don't really know what they do. And Amen. So, I mean, do you think that it's beneficial for somebody young and starting out in the creative industry to be a jack of all trades, or do you actually think it's more important to specialise?
Oh, I think it's inevitable to be somewhat of a jack of all trades when you're starting out, because, like you said, that's what people hire for, especially if it's a smaller business who, most of the time, if somebody's hiring a jack of all trades, it's because they don't have capacity to hire specialists, right? And they kind of need a bit of everything. It's not great, but I don't see, that's the context of the business at the time. And so there is 1 million graphic designers graduating every year. You can do graphic design from anywhere in the world. There is no shortage of talent and supply of people. And so when you're starting out, getting any job can be really hard. And so I think it's like, I don't see anything wrong with a graphic designer being employed to do a bit of photography, a bit of social media. I wouldn't say it's a good long term, because you're never going to be great at all those things. It's kind of like with websites in particular, like one website is at face value like one piece of work. But actually a website actually takes, like, it depends on the scope, of course, but you'll have photography, you'll have perhaps illustration on some sites as well, you have web development, you have graphic design, you might have like UX strategy, you'll have copywriting. I mean, that's so many different specialists right there for a website. And so you can't really get around somewhat doing a few different things. But I think it's also good to expose you to different pieces of the puzzle, because it gives good context. But I think specialising is a good business strategy. I think it's a good personal career strategy. But I just think there's too many, and maybe we'll see how technology impacts this, but there is always going to be people wanting generalists in some way, because that's all they can.
I suppose, if nothing else, learning different areas of the creative industry, especially if you want to move up into like an art director role, you sort of need to know how those work, and even if you're not doing them yourself.
100%. And I mean, that's probably why, like, at least at Massey University, in your first year of design, you do a different design discipline each semester. And so you're doing spatial design and industrial design and graphic design and photography and typography, whatever it is. I think that's all good context, because, like I just said, so many actual applications of any of those disciplines also involve the others. And so they all work within each other. They're all adjacent to one another.
And so for those junior designers starting out, or people, aspiring designers perhaps, do you think you need to go to university?
No? I didn't finish my degree.
You didn't finish your degree?
No, not by intention. That was not my life plan. But no, I don't think so. I'm not saying don't go to university if you want to. I think it's a great place to learn, but
it's not the only way.
It's not the only way to learn.
Not the only path.
Like now, I mean, I'm so much more qualified. I've just learned on the job. You know. I probably receive a CV every second day.
Yeah.
And when I have been hiring and actually properly looked at them, like the last thing I look at is the CV. I'm looking at portfolios. It's actually how good your work is, what kind of breadth of skill do you have, how can you translate briefs, how, you know, your own flair, your own original take on things. That is, like, that's the skill, you know. I think there's a lot of, you know, you can graduate a design degree with, you know, not a lot of actual, you know, skill, I think, in some places, but you can also graduate with the most amazing portfolio and be super hireable. I don't know. I don't think there's one path at all, and it's the beauty of the creative industry. You know, plenty of other industries you have to get the degree because you have to be qualified and have the, you have to have the paper. But I don't think that matters. It doesn't matter to me when I'm hiring. At least I know I've even had clients who have been open about their opinions. Not realising that I didn't finish my degree, been open about their opinions of degrees and how, you know, people have to have them, but that's often a different generation as well.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, you've started and grown a business without that $30,000, $40,000 student loan behind you, which is amazing.
I've built this business completely debt free. I think I invested $15 for the domain to start out with. That was the investment from my pocket. You know, obviously there's a huge amount of time of not earning what you could be if I was employed by somebody else. You know, there's always a cost to it, but no.
Yeah, I think that's pretty amazing because I like university in that I probably didn't get as much out of it my first time around when I was young as a teenager in early 20s, but I'm studying again now, studying business, and I put so much more energy and effort into it, so I get out of it what I put in, and I feel like if I wasn't into it I just wouldn't be doing it for starters, but there's definitely a point where you could just get nothing out of it, but you have to be wanting to be there and 100%. To actually learn anything.
I fully agree that you get out what you put in with many things in life, but I am neither completely for or completely against tertiary study. I think it's completely individual, but neither is the only way. You know, but
you are an amazing example of how it can be done without the qualification.
Yeah, look, if I can learn by pure determination, then anybody can learn how to do design.
And so what does the next 5-10 years look like for Forme?
I need to measure my ambition because I'm like, what's realistic? I think what I really care about now, I don't want to have the biggest agency. I don't care about growing to a certain size. I care about the kind of work we do for the kinds of people we do work for. And so, I want to continue to partner with really incredible people who have incredible ideas and ambitions for where they want to take businesses. I would love to work with some more innovative business concepts and do some unique stuff. But in general, I care about developing my own and my team's skill to do the best work we can and produce the best results for the people we work with. If I was to boil it all down into one thing, it would be I want to become known for the results we bring our clients through great design.
Yeah. And then if there's someone out there who's wanting to start a business, do you have any sort of lessons you learned along the way or advice for them?
Probably a myriad of things. I think, like I said earlier, there will always be, no matter how committed you are to a business idea and how passionate you are about it, there will be inevitably moments where you want to give up, where you don't feel like it's worth it. There's hardship inevitably in anything that's worthwhile, you know. And so you have to have a level of grit to push through. And so a lot of that, I think, if you can find people who will encourage you and people who will understand what you're trying to do. I think it's always hard for people who are starting businesses if they're only surrounded by other people who are employed and that's only been their experience. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just it's its own journey to start something new with its own challenges. And so if you can find people who understand and can walk alongside you and support you and encourage you and give you confidence, confidence is everything, you know, that would be my one piece of advice is, find some people to support you.
Yeah. And then what makes a good designer in your mind?
Oh, this feels like a real hot take moment. A good designer. I think there's something, I will say there's having an eye for design. And like, it doesn't have to be design, and there are plenty of photographers who are, and people in like other industries who are naturally, there's an eye for design, detail, aesthetic, composition. So that there's a part of it is just kind of having this intuition and this gut instinct with it. But beyond that, because I believe it can be learned, everything can be learned, you know. Beyond that, I think what makes a really great designer is being comfortable pushing through the middle discomfort when you haven't met the resolution of the design. So what I mean by that is, particularly in brand design, you'll have done all this groundwork and then you start concepting. And then that middle part where like you have the idea in your head, or you don't know that's even harder, when you don't have the idea in your head and you haven't reached the concept kind of solidified yet, you're in that in between. It can be really easy to kind of revert to things that are done before, or kind of get things to a point that you're like, that's good enough. And honestly, a lot of the time you have to do that. But what makes a really good designer is learning to be comfortable in that in between. Because honestly, it's uncomfortable. It feels frustrating. I get frustrated in that season a lot, where I'm like, it's just not getting to the resolution. But if you can get comfortable with that, and you're willing to sit in it, and you give your mind space to let things kind of marinate. Part of that is process, giving yourself time, you know, to sit with that idea, go get creative inspiration elsewhere, go for a walk, go, you know, like I said, it's all the input into your mind, and then come back to it. That's when the best concepts come through and the best ideas. You can revert to like a good enough or seen and done before, but the best design is that comfortable in that awkward, especially if you're a task, like you're a tick the list, like I am. Being comfortable in that discomfort of the non-resolution yet. You'll get to someplace awesome if you can sit in that and continue to think on it and get it there. Yeah. That's really vague.
Nice. And then, so if you could give yourself, your younger self, you're very young, but your younger self, any advice before starting out, what would that be, do you think?
Just start. Yeah. I think I've seen that same advice everywhere though, to be fair, but just start doing something. Nothing is going to kill your enthusiasm like not doing a single thing about it, and just having the idea, or the worst is just talking about it. I'm like, can we stop talking about an idea and just start executing, even if it's rubbish, even if it looks horrible, even if it's, you know, nowhere near where you want it to be. You have to know that it's all about the journey and you'll get there.
So once it's out there, you can build on it.
You have to have something to refine, and it's kind of like writing an essay, like a paper for study. You can't, like, how much easier, this is why ChatGPT is so good, because it's so much easier to refine existing copy than just stare at a blank page and try to start something. And even worse if you're trying to perfect every sentence as you go. It's just the same sort of thing. Just have something to then build upon. And then last question, Isla, what is the best part of your job? The people, the team I have. I love them so much with all my heart. And the clients we get to work with, like I said before, I'm gobsmacked by the people that walk in the door. I'm like, you're just the best of humanity, and I just want to help you. And it's such a joy to use creative skills and just put all your effort and energy into something that is for people that you just love.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so nice. So nice. It must be nice to have amazing clients and amazing team.
It's such a privilege, and I'm, like I said, I'm a bit like, is my luck going to run out at some point?
No.
Yeah.
Well, all the best for the continuation of Forme Creative, and thanks so much for coming in today. It's been an absolute blast talking with you and getting all your opinions on things.
Oh, thank you for having me. This has been really fun.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.